Okay, welcome to the next video in our security training series. In this one, we're going to cover seed phrases. So it's important to understand seed phrases because if you don't understand what a seed phrase is, then you really can't secure your digital assets the best way possible. So it's really important to get your head around this concept. So let's delve in and find out what a seed phrase is and how it works. Okay, so we've already covered in our understanding wallets videos how a wallet stores private key information, which in turn controls your digital assets. If you don't understand how that works, please go back, watch the video on Wallet Essentials, because that will give you some key information on how wallets store private key information for you. We're going to take that one step further in this video. So we said that our wallets, whether they're software or hardware wallets, store our private keys, and they store not just one private key, but many private keys. And we may have private keys for Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dash, all the assets you can imagine will have their own private key. So what we need is some way to be able to back up all of those private keys and be able to restore them should we need to. And the way we do that is we use something called a seed phrase. Okay, and here's the technical jargon about seed phrases, the Bitcoin Improvement Protocol. Essentially, it is a list of words out of a total list of, in the English context, 2,048 words. And so these are random words that, when put together, form essentially like a password. So a 12-word password. We call it a seed phrase. And that 12-word password, the seed phrase, is what gives you the ability to back up everything on your device. So a wallet, in this case we're looking at our Trezor hardware wallet, will have a series of 12 words that you could use to restore all the contents of your private keys to another Trezor or another wallet that supports this standard. Likewise, a software wallet. In this instance, we're looking at MetaMask. It too has a list of 12 words that form a seed phrase that allow you to back up and restore all the private keys which it controls. Now, I just want to make a bit of a point. I keep referring to 12 words. Now, it is possible to have more than 12 words depending on the type of seed phrase you have. Sometimes it's 24 words, and in some case, in special circumstances, it can be 20 words. I won't cover too much detail on those at this point in time because that's probably a little bit more advanced, but just for now, understand that a lot of wallets, the Trezor, MetaMask, and a number of others use 12 words to form their seed phrase. Now, I can't underplay how important a seed phrase is. So I want to be really, really clear on this. If anyone has your 12 words or gets hold of your 12 words, they can restore the contents of your private keys to any wallet that supports this standard. So if somehow you write this down and someone gets hold of it, they can import that into another compatible wallet. So never ever store this information on a computer or online because it could get compromised. So that would defeat the purpose of having, in particular, a hardware wallet, because you would be putting these seed words, this seed phrase, online for someone to potentially get access to. So it is incredibly important that you look after this seed phrase really, really well. And we're going to cover off how you can do that in later videos as well. So I mentioned that it's important to look after your seed phrase. let's have a look how we do that. So when we create a wallet, we generate our seed phrase, whether it's 12 or 24 words, we generate that seed phrase. We then need to document it somewhere. And we're going to cover various ways we can do this later on. But for now, let's just take the basic approach of writing this down. So we don't only write it down once, we make multiple copies. That way, if you lose one of these copies, you have a second copy somewhere. It's that important. You do need to do this. You then need to store these safely in separate locations. If you've got a home safe or something like that, brilliant. That is a really good place to store it. If not, you need to find somewhere equally as secure and trustworthy where you can leave that. Now, this could be with other family members, if you truly trust them. Because like we said, if someone has your seed phrase and they know what to do with it, they can access your funds. Fortunately, there's other ways we can protect our seed phrase, and we'll cover those in later videos. But for now, understand that it is crucial that you back up your seed phrase, you write it down, you never put it online, you keep it stored somewhere offline. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to repeat myself many times during this video because I need you to understand how important your seed phrase is. So seed phrase do's, keep it safe, write it down and protect it fiercely. Don't let anyone get hold of it. Never enter it anywhere online. There's been instances where people have input their seed phrase into a website and they've lost their funds. So like I said, never store it online or never input it into a website asking for your seed phrase. Do not give it to anyone who you don't trust. Like I said, if someone has this, they've got the keys to the vault. They can get in and take your funds. And more importantly, never leave it in the open. It's great that you've written it down, but don't leave it sitting on your desk. That's just asking for trouble. Now, like I said, we've got some pretty cool ways we can protect that. And we'll have a quick look at those now, but we'll delve into those in more detail in later videos. And some of these ways we can protect our seed take the following forms. So we can use something called passphrase protection. So essentially what that is we take our seed phrase and we add an additional word to it. We call that word a passphrase. Think of it like a password that sits over the top of your seed phrase. So in order for someone to access your funds, they would need to know your seed phrase as well as your passphrase. And in actual fact, you can have multiple passphrases for every seed phrase. So it's quite a unique feature. And we're going to cover that in a bit more detail in a later video because I think that's really important and one of the best things you can do for your security in storing your seeds. Then there's a step further, which is Shamir seed backups. And that's takes a seed, and when you generate a Shamir seed, it creates multiple sets of words. So it might create 3 sets of 20 words that you can then give to 3 different people or store in 3 different locations. And to be able to restore the complete seed to give you access to the funds, you would need 2 out of 3 of those components to form the complete seed phrase. So how would that work in practice? So you might have a company with 3 directors, and each director would have a slice of the seed, and it would take 2 of those directors to come together and before the seed could be put together to access the funds. So it's just a way of distributing the trust, and you can have multiple layers of the security. So it is quite a advanced feature, and we will cover that in later videos as well. And then there's a weakened down version of a Shamir backup, and I'll call that distributed seeds. And really what we're doing is we're taking a standard seed phrase, but we're splitting it into groups of words and only writing down, say, one group of words and putting that in a location, and then taking another group of words and storing that somewhere else, and then taking another group of words and storing that somewhere else. So that in order to be able to restore the wallet, you need more than one of those pieces to come together to restore the seed phrase. So it's not as strong as Shamir, has a few limitations, but in terms of implementing a budget solution that is pretty easy to understand, it's worth a look. If you really need that level of security, then you're probably best to be looking at something like a Shamir backup instead. But nonetheless, worth having a look at. Now, in later videos, we are going to cover how we actually use passphrases, so you can understand why I like them and why I see the benefit in them and why I think everyone should be using them.